Councillor Fairclough is attending online, and Councillor Rice, are you substituting for Councillor Wilson? Fantastic. Brill. Declarations of pecuniary interest? No, there aren't any. The public minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any comments to those? Yeah. Okay, so they seem to be agreed. We will go to the private minutes after later on the agenda, just so we can get through the public part of this meeting first. And so the substantive item is the appointment of senior officers, and I'll hand over to Polly Chalk.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, thank you all of you for making time to come to this meeting. The 3 items that we're asking you to approve today are the salary packages for 3 senior roles in the council and the authority to go ahead and recruit to them. So the first one of those is the Director of Public Health. Our current Director of Public Health is employed on a fixed term contract. So we're asking for authority to go out to the market and seek a permanent Director of Public Health. There is a very specific appointments process for Director of Public Health, which is laid out in statute, which means that we have to do it alongside colleagues from the Department of Health. So it's slightly different to the way we would normally appoint a chief officer. We are also asking to for you to agree to the salary package for the Director of Children's Social Care and Youth Inclusion. That is a role that was made vacant when the previous incumbent resigned. We currently have an interim in that role, and we're keen to appoint permanently to the post. And the last is for the monitoring officer role, which also has somebody in it on a fixed term contract. We're calling that the Director of Governance and Civic Services. And you may remember from previous appointments committees that we made the decision to separate the monitoring officer role from the managing director of the South London Legal Partnership. And we have recently appointed to the managing director of SLLP. We've got an excellent appointee who'll be starting in November. And so we now want to appoint permanently to a monitoring officer role, which is a statutory role within the council. So it will be a member appointment. So it will be appointed by a subcommittee of this committee, which will be appointed by the chair. The salary packages that we're requesting for those jobs are outlined in the paper. We are asking for the authority to potentially apply a market supplement to the Director of Public Health role, which we are asking should be delegated to the strategic director for, I'm trying to remember what John Morgan's called now, for the strategic director with responsibility for health and social care and so on. Sorry, I can't remember what his job title is. Anyway, so that's those are the main points in the paper. We have set out the recruitment processes for the roles in here, and we're asking for authority to go and appoint a recruitment consultant to we may not end up using the same one for each of those roles, but to appoint recruitment consultants using our procurement frameworks to help us and support us in recruiting to those really important roles.
Thank you very much, Polly. Before I open the floor for questions and comments, so for clarity, it's from 3 interim to 3 permanent positions at the moment, or loosely.
Terms. So one of them is like an agency interims, and that's the one in children's social care. So that's where there's sort of additional costs being incurred. The other 2 are on fixed term contracts, so they're not costing any more than a permanent member of staff currently would, but we do need stability in the roles.
Brilliant. And just in terms of that recommendation around the market supplement, although there may be approval here
Yeah,
today for that, it would still need to go to full council. Any final decision?
they will all need to go to full council because the salary packages for any roles over 100,000 have to go to full council before they, so the constitution says we have to come here to agree what we're going to offer and to agree the recruitment process, but the final salaries all have to come to full council anyway.
Brilliant, thank you. Questions, comments, Peter? Sorry, Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Leader. I just was looking at where's the evidence that we do need to pay market supplements, because one of my pet subjects is getting good value for public money. I am fiscally conservative. I make no apologies for that. And I have this kind of view that if we as London authorities, because we are so close and you can get from one to the other pretty quickly, start paying these supplements, then what happens is that Wandsworth or Sutton will think, oh well, we'll have to pay more, and so it just becomes a never-ending process of bidding for people without necessarily getting better caliber candidates. And so where does that stop, and where's the evidence to suggest that we should be paying it, and or even agreeing to offer it if necessary?
So in this particular case, we had substantial evidence from DPH roles that across London, which I shared with the chair, which I did share with the chair because he asked the same question when I was preparing the paper. The directors of public health are incredibly competitive jobs. They're quite rare. They're quite thin on the ground because it's a very specific role with a specific set of qualifications. We will not offer market supplements unless we have to. So we don't go out to the market saying, so for example, with the SLLP job, we had approval from this committee to offer a market supplement of up to 25,000. Now, in the end, we offered a market supplement of about 12,000. So we didn't use all of that. So it's about making sure that we have the flexibility within our gift to offer what we need to secure the right candidate. It's not saying that we'll definitely use it, but I'm really happy to share with you what I shared with the leader in terms of what DPHs are being paid across London and other boroughs. And I know what you mean about a bidding war. I mean, sometimes just one borough putting the salary up beyond what everybody else is paying can skew the market considerably, and that's actually happened recently with monitoring officers. I think Hounslow or somewhere paid like 150,000 for their monitoring officer, and everybody's hearts sink because they think, is that going to be what's expected in the market? Now, I don't know if it was Hounslow for the record. I think it was one of those big outer London boroughs. So I totally see what you mean, but we are trying very much to follow the evidence, see what the pay rates are, make sure we're competitive, but also make sure we're keeping it reasonable. But I will drop you an email after this with that data from the other boroughs if you'd like to see it.
Yes, please. And can I say I'm proud of the leader for asking that question, because it's a very important one. And if you would like my legendary meanness to be applied to this process, I'm willing to offer my services as part of the recruitment team.
And
Thank you very much.
And I think it's also worth saying that dependent on the candidate as well will be dependent on what that salary is.
Absolutely.
For instance, if it is a step up candidate, you wouldn't go to the top end.
No, completely. And if you were to go to the top end, you would be expecting to get a very experienced DPH moving across.
Councillor McGrath and then Councillor Rice.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think it's a very good point. There's lots of evidence in the private sector that when senior salaries became public, there was a big campaign some years ago to make them public. Actually, what happened was everybody could see how much their peers earned and all the salaries went up, and bonuses. So it absolutely had that effect. But it sounds like, we're not going to spend the money unless we have to, which sounds fine. I had a look. I thought the public health was quite high, but then I had to look at how much senior consultants are earning, and they're all earning around that or more with funny supplements and stuff. So it didn't seem unreasonable. So can you just confirm one thing? I want to know this, but I've forgotten. Is it the final packages we want to hire Mr. X or Ms. Dr. X, and we're going to pay them X salary? Is that what comes to the council, or is it's the package for the individual person that comes to the council? Great. Okay, thank you.
It will be the yeah, because by the time we go to council, we will have been through the process. So yes.
Councillor Rice and then Cooper Marbia.
Thank you, Chair. So you've outlined 2 options in the paper. Could you say a bit more about the do nothing option and why that is not something that should be considered?
Well, partly because we in the case of the children's social care post, there are various reasons for that. One is that the interim is expensive, and B, Ofsted do not look kindly on not having permanent employment in those very, very key safeguarding roles. So that's a really important one. The other 2, which are our DPH roles and our monitoring officer roles, those are both statutory officers of the council, and to not have them permanently filled is not great governance, but it also means that we potentially have instability of those roles if the people within them want to be in permanent roles, or but also I think that we only have, if I'm right, we only have permission from this committee to appoint them for a certain amount of time, so we'd have to renew them here anyway, because but it's about creating a stable and permanent leadership in the organisation beyond anything. People who are committed to us, people who want to be with us for the long haul, and I think in those statutory roles that's really important.
Okay, so I get that. The counter argument could be stated that these roles are going to, that the challenges in these roles are going to change over time as the market conditions change, as statutory requirements change. So by having them on fixed term contracts, we have more flexibility to better ensure that in future we can appoint people who've definitely got the right skills for that time. That would be a counter argument.
I mean, it could be, but I think that quite honestly, in both of the roles, we are extremely lucky to have managed to secure the services of such good interims, and interims who are willing to come off an expensive agency day rate and onto our fixed term contract rates as well. And that's by no means something that's been achieved easily. So I think it would be, pushing our luck a little bit to think that we could keep on doing that, if I'm honest with you.
We'd probably need permission from, particularly for the DPH.
We probably would. We probably would need
regional
central
director.
government to do that.
Councillor Cooper Marbia.
Thank you, Chair. My question is around the market supplement as well, and I know you've discussed it quite a bit. So the only bit I will have to ask now is how do you decide how much market supplement to ask for? And I know you've said like in previous situation where you had the amount but you did not use the full amount. So how will you decide what amount to apply should you get employment?
So we will take advice from our recruitment consultants, because they know the market very well. So they will know who's at, because bearing in mind with jobs like this, there are really quite a limited number of people out there in the market who are qualified, experienced, London based, who are, in the market for a new job. So our recruitment consultants will advise us to who's out there. They'll advise us to the levels of salary those people might be looking for. We will, throughout the process, we might put an up to figure in there, but actually what we would pay would be very much dependent on who we offered it. As the leader said, if we ended up, say, going for a director of public health or a monitoring officer, we're not offering a market supplement on the monitoring officer, but if we ended up with somebody who was new to the role, a step up, somebody who was currently a public health consultant and this is their first DPH job, we would look at coming down lower. Whereas if we were lucky enough to secure the services of someone who was highly experienced and probably already earning more than the top of our salary level, then that's where we might have to. But I think any recruitment consultant would say to you, when you first go out to the market, give yourself as much flexibility as you can, because what you don't want to do is end up blocking out really good candidates for the sake of a few £1,000s one way or the other. So it's just about giving ourselves that flexibility.
Councillor Fairclough.
Thank you, Chair, and my apologies for not being there in person owing to a work commitment. And thank you, Polly, for the report, which is detailed and explains the position in a helpful way and in a way that I'm in support of. Given the conversation about market supplements, I'm very comfortable with the position you just outlined, which is that flexibility is needed. I wondered whether when the report comes to full council, if more information is provided as to why the figure that was chosen ultimately, that might help reassure colleagues or the colleagues who've expressed concerns that we've got the best value for money. But I can see some issues there with issues around privacy, but I wondered if that kind of information would be available to full council or indeed to this committee.
I would rather share it with this committee on a confidential basis than I would with full council, just because sometimes those decisions are made based on, you know, things like people's existing salary packages and personal data about them. But when we do make an appointment, I'd be very happy to, to share that information with this committee on a privileged basis, I think. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm just trying to think in previous circumstances when it's come to full council, whether it is a private paper around the salaries or whether it's a public.
It's a public paper. It is.
The official amount.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is because it's part of the whole. Because it's a legal
The actual
requirement,
pay.
yeah.
I guess there could be a private or appendix to that around the benchmark, around the supplement figure. I mean, as we've discussed, it may not reach the full supplement and therefore it may not be something that needs to be shared at full council if it is just the salary without the supplement. But that might be something to take away and see if that is possible to do. Because we are asking members to vote on that, and you would want them to have sight of that evidence base or that information to be taking that decision.
I'll certainly sort of consult the monitoring officer around the best way of doing that. I think it's also worth saying that because I mean, I'm looking at the data that I'm going to share with Councillor McCabe now, and you'll see that the salaries for DPHs in London range between sort of 113,000 up to 160. So there's a big range in there, and so Sutton, for example, are paying 159, but their DPH as a strategic director reports directly to the chief executive, whereas ours reports up through John. So there are different staffing structures in each place, but there's quite a lot in the middle there. And what I do know is that Hannah is really keen that we get somebody excellent in this role, because you'll notice that that we've changed the job title for it, because what we want is somebody in this role who is going to really understand the strategic role of public health across the council, the role that public health can play in sort of changing lives, changing communities, the role that it can play. And so it's called Director of Public Health and Community Wellbeing, because I think we're really keen to move into a more aspirational model of what public health can do across every part of the council. And in order to be able to do that well, we need to get somebody who's really good in this role, somebody who's got a lot of imagination and flair and can really take the role to the next level. So I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to give ourselves a bit of flexibility rather than sort of going at the bottom end.
I note that the cabinet member will be taking an informal role in the recruitment process of the Director for Public Health. So that there is the challenge has been laid to take into consideration comments at today's meeting.
Yeah.
Councillor McCabe, you were indicating that you wish to ask a question.
I was there, and one of the things that I think I heard Polly say was that if we need advice about this, then we'll ask the recruitment consultants. Now, consultants are a wonderful band of people, and they are, you know, they have nothing but the utmost respect for me, but if you ask somebody whose remuneration depends on the actual salary, final salary that's agreed, then don't be surprised if they say
It doesn't.
so. They do a flat fee.
They do a flat fee.
Will they do it
we-
for less if we can get them
We
down a
wouldn't-
bit more?
we don't appoint recruitment consultants on the basis of a percentage of the salary. I know that that's quite often how it operates in the private sector, but that's not how we do it. So we do it on a flat fee. Whatever. Yeah, we don't want to put any perverse incentives in for them to drive salaries up.
And it is, I assume, a low fee.
Well, I think it depends on your. We use a procurement framework. It's competitive.
Are there any further questions? Hopefully that provides some reassurance, Councillor McCabe. Any comments? No? Okay, so we're being asked to agree recommendations A, B, C, D, E. Are they agreed? Sorry, I've got written, and F. Sorry, is F agreed as well? Brilliant, thank you very much. We'll move to the next item, which is the exclusion of the public, and that's to resolve that the public are excluded from the meeting during consideration of the exempt minutes of the previous meeting on the grounds that it is exempt from disclosure for the reasons stated